So what we're doing is we're going through and we're looking at each of the image adjustments so I can give you some idea of how they work. In future exercises, we'll use one or two together to affect a change. But right now we're just going through and applying each one to an image and seeing what the results are. So for these next couple, I'm going to take this image, I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to click on it, drag it down, and make a copy, and then I'm going to run the effect in the top layer and then blend it down. Now remember, always look for your adjustments from the adjustment menu here first. I'm doing it from here because it's easier to go through them in list fashion. So we're going to go down to invert, and that does exactly that. It inverts the image. So that can be used if you have negative film. If you want to scan negative film, you can import it and invert it. And then I could also take that opacity and slide it down and create some interesting looking effects with that. Let's undo it. Image adjustments, posterize. So that takes the image and it breaks it down into a handful of colors, 5 levels, and creates this posterization effect. And click cancel. Image adjustments, threshold. Takes the image and turns it into like a black and white pen and ink kind of drawing. So I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to use the opacity slider and blend that top layer down so I can use them together and create something interesting. I'm going to undo that. Image adjustments, gradient map. So what this tool does is it allows us to apply color where the darks, midtones, and lights of a grayscale would be. So if I click here, what I'm doing is I'm loading a dark color, the purple into where the darks would be, and lights where the orange would be. And what we'll do in an upcoming exercise is I'll show you how to create a custom gradient, okay? And so you're not stuck with the ones that are in here. There are lots of gradients in here, and then you can, of course, make your own. Okay, let's click cancel. Image adjustments, selective color. So the way a printer uses color is they'll have reds or yellows or greens, and then they'll change the amount of cyan, magenta, or yellow inside of a color. So I'm going into the reds, I'm going into the yellows, and I'm adding more magenta or yellow to that particular color. And I can fine tune each color. All right, shadows, highlights. There's 2 options. The way it'll come up initially, it'll look like this. And there's my shadows and my highlights, but I can also click show more options. And I can adjust the shadows and highlights for the shadow region, for the highlights, or other adjustments as well. The midtones. HDR toning. Let's flatten it. So HDR stands for high dynamic range. And the idea is that you take multiple photographs with the same settings lock it off on the tripod and adjust the exposure, up a stop or down a stop. You can do 3 with one with the correct exposure, 1 over exposed by a stop, 1 underexposed, up to 5 or 7 photographs. And then all those photographs are stitched together using this tool called HDR. So what we're doing here is it's approximating what HDR looks like. So there's a bunch of these very interesting options here. Let's look at photorealistic high contrast. All right, let's look at surrealistic low contrast. Okay, so they're very interesting looking monochromatic low contrast. Very interesting looking utilities that you can use. And then of course you can go in and experiment with the radius and the strength, etc. Okay, let's click cancel. Image adjustments. And let's go ahead and do the last ones here. Desaturate, desaturates the image. So that just takes all the color out of the image. I'm going to go to edit, undo. I can also go to image adjustments, go to hue saturation, grab that saturation slider, slide all the way to the left, and I can desaturate by that means as well. So either way I can desaturate my image. Image adjustments, match color. So the idea of the match color is that I can load another image and then match the color from one image to another. Let's save that for another exercise. Let's go to image adjustments, replace color. We're going to save that for another exercise as well. But what I can do is I can map a color in an image and then swap it out with another image. And we will do match and replacing color in one of the photo editing exercises. It demands a little too much attention for us to force our way through it right now. And the last is equalize. And remember that often I have the option, if I apply an edit immediately after I apply the edit, I have the ability to fade that option or run it through a blending mode. Okay. All right, let's stop here. What we did was we went through all the image adjustments and I explained to you how each one of them works and how they're used. And then we applied them singly to an image so that we can understand what the application looks like. And we defined the difference between using the image adjustment from the menu up above and the adjustments palette on the right, which is preferable. Use that adjustments palette on the right when you can. Okay. And we looked at image adjustments